out there. A lot of people are there, and UP police trying to, in a way, convince them to not gather at this particular place, because it is just few minutes then the team of Advocate Commissioner will arrive for the survey in the Gyanvapi mosque. And you're seeing the visuals out here, how UP police and some members of Muslim community as well trying to convince them, trying to send them back to their homes.
Advocate Ajay Kumar and his team are conducting the survey ordered by the court over 2 days.
सर अभी क्या प्लान होगा एक्शन आपको?
बस जा रहे हैं, कमीशन की कार्रवाई हो रही है।
कितनी देर चलना है काम ये?
2 घंटे चलेगा।
2 घंटे चलेगा।
Videography of the complex was ordered by a local court after 2 women in 2021 filed a plea seeking permission to pray daily at the Shringar Gauri. The statue of Goddess Shringar Gauri is located at the outer wall of the Gyanvapi mosque. A petition filed in 1991 by local priests demanding the right to pray in the mosque area is also pending. While there is speculation that Kashi could become the next rallying point after Ayodhya, the BJP so far has been silent on the issue.
कोर्ट का सिर्फ इतना ऑर्डर है कि जो मुकदमा दाखिल किया गया है, उनका जो प्लेन्ड केस है, उस प्लेन्ड केस के मुताबिक उसका सर्वे कराया, उसका ऑर्डिनरी कमीशन कराया जाए। सर्वे नहीं, सर्वे में मेजरमेंट होता है। ये ऑर्डिनरी कमिश्नर है। ऑर्डिनरी कमिश्नर का मतलब कि जो आपको अपनी आंखों से दिखे उसको आप नोट कीजिए, कौन सी चीज़ें कहाँ पर स्थित है उसको आप रिपोर्ट कीजिए, उसकी कोर्ट में एप्लीकेशन, उसकी रिपोर्ट सबमिट कीजिए।
Security forces have been deployed in large numbers to prevent any untoward incident. With Samad Srivastav from Lucknow, Bureau Report, India Today.
And that's a wrap on this bulletin. For all the latest news and updates, you can log on to indiatoday.in. You can also download the India Today app. Thanks for watching.
You are watching India Today.
According to a bombshell leaked draft, the American Supreme Court is poised to strike down the right to abortion in the United States. So how does the American Supreme Court function? The United States Supreme Court is the highest federal court in the land and the final court of appeal. Its job is to ensure that the promise of equal justice for all Americans under the law is upheld. To that end, it is the guardian and interpreter of the US Constitution. The Supreme Court was created in 1789. Since 1935, its home has been a 4-story classical building made of American marble and oak located on Capitol Hill in Washington. Its seal is similar to the Great Seal of the United States, except that it has a single star beneath the Eagles clause. This symbolizes the Constitution's creation of one Supreme Court. 9 judges, referred to as justices, sit on the court. They hold office for as long as they wish, although they can be removed by impeachment. The Supreme Court is steeped in tradition. While in court, justices wear black robes. White quills are placed on counsel tables each day that the court sits. A black curtain is hung over the courtroom doors as a sign of respect and mourning following the death of a justice. And each day, justices shake hands to remind that harmony of purpose overrides differences of opinion. However, there can be substantial ideological differences and disagreements between them, which may be expressed through a written statement or opinion.
You are watching.
We've got mail on tech today and it's come from OnePlus, but they've only sent us the OnePlus Nord CE 2 Lite. Yes, it's a 5G phone, but there's so many coming out in the Nord line. There's a 10R as well, but there was another announcement, so maybe there's a surprise at the end of this very special unboxing. Oh wait, it's here now. The OnePlus Nord Buds, they're here, but are they a true bang for your buck? Well, you're going to find out on this episode of Tech Today. Well, Well, there's so much to say about the OnePlus Nord CE2 Lite 5G. I mean, they send these media reviewer kits, and this one seems modest compared to the OnePlus 10 Pro, but obviously it's nearly a third of the price. So as you open it, well, this is like one of those Russian dolls because there's a box inside the box. When you actually pluck this one out. This is the OnePlus Nord CE2 Lite. It's a 5G phone. Is OnePlus's most affordable phone yet. Okay, initial impressions, as soon as you hold this phone and you've unboxed it, it doesn't really look or feel that premium. From a distance it does, but then you know that they've turned things down a notch. Even if you compare it to its elder sibling, which is the OnePlus Nord CE2, which is just a few thousand rupees more than this. And that's going to be a huge part of the verdict of this phone. It feels all right, but I'll tell you what, this back polycarbonate sort of finish, it looks nice, but it doesn't feel that nice to hold. These massive, well, this triple camera setup is great to look at, but what's really missing is an ultra-wide camera. So if you look at this rear camera module, you'll see this is a 64 megapixel primary sensor. And yes, it has EIS and it looks all right. Then there's also a depth assist camera, which is a 2 megapixel camera that they've given you, and then a macro lens. Now, when you're talking about zoom, it gives you 1x to 6x, but the whole point is that in 2022, when there's so many Chinese brands vying for this space, which is the sub 20,000 rupee market, you don't have an ultra-wide camera on your phone. I think that would put a lot of people off. But even then, let's see what kind of photos this phone can actually take. Look, you can see some of the photos and the shots that we've taken on this phone, and you realize that a lot of them seem well overexposed, but they do seem a little better than the previous rendition of the Nord CE2 sometimes. And well, in daylight, the phone does fantastically well, but of course, at this price point, which I'm telling you is quite a showstopper, it is quite decent and a bang for your buck. But there's one thing that this one has really missed out on apart from the ultra-wide camera, which is the display. Look, if you really want to use your phone as a content consumption monster, maybe this is not the phone for you because it comes with an LCD screen. Yes, it has a 120Hz refresh rate, but even at this price point, there's several budget brands out there who are actually giving you an AMOLED display, and that might make a difference to a lot of us, especially when you're watching like Netflix content or Amazon Prime content on a phone like this or on any of your smartphones or even a YouTube video. You can actually, well, sacrifice on the refresh rate. Maybe go for a 90Hz phone. You know, stuff like that works before. It's worked for OnePlus as well. They've given you 120Hz, so we want to see how that works in terms of battery life, but they've given you an LCD display. One thing which I found quite interesting is when you look at displays, now a lot of brands are trying to hide, well, this pixel, the camera, the selfie camera, so to speak. But over here, they've made it a lot more prominent. Maybe that's done deliberately, but otherwise the display in terms of viewing angles is fine. The phone has a 6.56-inch display, which means it is a massive and it's not that easy to hold if you have small hands. Now, under the hood, this comes with a Snapdragon 695, which is a chipset we've seen on a lot of budget smartphones. And to be honest with you, it's great because it supports 5G. And largely, if you're buying a budget phone, it does the job. It's smooth when you're using it, very few bugs. And if you actually update as soon as you get the phone, out of the box, it comes on Android 12 or Oxygen 12 in terms of their interpretation. But I don't, as someone who's loved OnePlus phones over the years, want to call this Oxygen OS, because as soon as you update to 12.1 on their software updates, it starts looking so much like ColorOS, which is Oppo's operating system. Well, now it's time for the verdict. Now, if you look at this phone, well, how much would you spend on a phone like this, right? Maybe you'd spend 20,000, 30,000. But what if I told you that you can get this phone for under 20,000 rupees? You go on the OnePlus website, use a particular credit card, and you can get this phone down to maybe 18,500 rupees, maybe even lesser if you've got a great cashback scheme, if you're buying this off Amazon or some other portal. So this phone, if you're buying it for someone or a loved one at your place, and you're getting this phone for less than 20,000 rupees, you say, hey, my budget was 20,000 rupees, so what do? Well, we clearly had a delivery by a Harry Potter owl halfway through the show, and then you got these OnePlus Nord buds, which means that the company is actually entering the affordable TWS earbud space. Well, if you have a look at them, they look super premium. As soon as you pluck them out of this and put them in your ear, they're comfortable to wear. And there's something about the OnePlus ecosystem which we're hoping builds over time, and they've been working on it for a while. And automatically, the phone gives you an alert where it's sort of connected and you know exactly, well, what your battery is like. Pretty much similar to what the AirPods experience is like. And to be very honest, I know I started off the OnePlus Nord CE2 Lite review with a very different perspective and ended it on the price. I'm going to start this the other way around. If you talk about the Nord Buds, these guys, in a nutshell, for under 3,000 rupees, and I'm guessing it gets a lot cheaper as well if you use some of the schemes and cashbacks, these are a true bang for your buck. These guys have really upped their game when it comes to the OnePlus Nord Buds. Yes, they lack noise cancellation. You get around 7 hours of battery on a single charge. You put it back in the case and they fit in seamlessly into the case with this magnetic sort of clasp. And you'll get, I think, another 30 hours of charge and you're good to go. It mentions right and left. The design is clean, it's good, it's shut, and then it fits in your pocket. So I'll just break this all down for you in this particular segment. The OnePlus Nord Buds and the new OnePlus Nord CE2 Lite. I would really consider recommending them as a couple. Individually, I don't know. If you need a phone which runs all right and you don't really care about your OS, you don't really care about anything, and somewhere at the back of your head you trust the company OnePlus, then it's an okay phone. I wouldn't say it's an amazing phone, but for the price, it's a good phone to buy. And then you have a budget of 20,000 rupees and you have all these cashbacks on your credit cards and whatnot, and you look at the OnePlus Buds and you pair them together for 21,000 rupees if you're getting a truly wireless experience with decent bass and decent charge and a phone which is affordable, does come from the OnePlus stable for whatever it's worth, and still has Oxygen OS, then this is a definite buy. One of the cheapest 5G smartphones, one of the world's most expensive 5G smartphone. This one doesn't have an ultra-wide camera. This one has a really good ultra-wide camera. And when we keep talking about camera systems and camera technology here on Tech Today, well, it's important to understand what really goes in making these cameras so special. In fact, it's important to trace the history of camera technology. So that's why Shivan is going to take us back to the future to understand what camera systems are all about.
So every week on the Tech Today show, we're talking about state-of-the-art technology. We're telling you about things that you would not have heard of. We're telling you about things and technology which is to come in the future. But today we're going to talk about technology which has been around in the past, as far back as the 1800s. I am specifically talking about camera technology. We're here at the Museo, which is the Camera Museum, and it is amazing to know how ISO was managed as far back as the 1900s. It's amazing to know how they did filters, which we so easily find on Instagram today. But way back then, it was very different. Let's take a trip into the past right now. So, you know, in today's day and age, if you need to take aerial images, what do? You use a drone. In 1945, that drone wasn't there. This was the closest thing to a drone because this is the kind of camera which was used to take aerial images. To give you an example, this is the camera which was used to click this image, this infamous, iconic image of the nuclear attack over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the mushroom cloud. This is the camera which was used. Now, let's take a closer look at what that camera was like. A, it came in a huge box. B, it was really heavy, and we'll get the lens up top here. If you see, it has a full metal make. It has a full handle over here. And this is actually, you almost feel as if you're using ammunition here because you first need to pull it up, you feel a clicking sound. Then pull it down, you hear this click again. Look through the lens. And then this is what you use to click. There you go, it almost sounds like a gunshot. But this is what the camera is. It's called the K20 and it was used in 1945. So you go to your phone's camera app, choose portrait and click and voila, apply a filter and post it on Instagram. It is that simple, and we're all very fond of portrait photographs. But way back in the 1900s, this is almost 120 years ago, if you needed a portrait photograph, you needed to use a different bit of equipment. This is the Century Universal Studio Outfit camera. It's about 50 kgs in weight. It's about 5 feet in height, and the film it used to take prints were actually glass plates. You had the option of two sizes. One is an 8x10, which you can see here, and then there is a 5x7 inches plate as well. And you had just a few minutes to print out the image from the glass plate, probably about 10 to 15 minutes. And after that, it's gone. It costed about $74 in 1905. Now next, let's talk about lenses. Today, this is what a lens would look like. You can zoom in, you can zoom out too, and the range can be altered. But this is what lenses looked like in the 1860s. These are Dalmer lenses. It was a British company. These were made of metal, and there was no concept of zooming in or zooming out. Block lenses is what you got. Zoom lenses did not exist at this time. So usually the ISO we use in today's cameras is about 1000. It can go up to 3000, even 4000. The ISO in cameras in the early 1900s or even in the 1800s was 3. So it basically means that the subject had to keep standing in the same posture for good about 4 to 5 minutes or even longer to get the right image clicked. So if you look at any of those images from those times, if you see them looking slightly disturbed, this could probably be one of the reasons. So today we hardly post a photograph without using filters or Photoshop. But back in the day when these filters or Photoshop was not around, there was a different way of doing things, and retouching was still very much a thing. It needed a whole retouching desk. The touch-ups to any image were added after the initial click was complete directly on the negative of the photograph. There was scraping of the film with knives and then drawing or painting on top of it on the negative. It could also be used to selectively lighten a photograph by painting the relevant portion on the negative with a red pigment. So, standing amidst all these cameras, it is a little overwhelming thinking about the kind of moments and the number of memories that they would have captured when they were in use. We are in times which, in which all of us are using Instagram. It's so easy to click, it's so easy to add a filter and just post it and the story is gone in 24 hours. But these cameras, clicking physical photographs which are there in print, they just have a different feel altogether. That's something which can never compete, no matter how much we progress in technology.
I gotta pack everything up. This is gonna be useful. This is what. Oh, you guys are back. Well, like I was saying earlier, it's important to take 2 steps back to actually maybe take 1 step forward. Just give me a minute. I think this will be useful as well. Well, I have planned a little surprise for you, an Easter egg surprise, and I want you guys to also go in for a quick commercial break. I shall be back, or maybe I won't. I don't know.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching.
Welcome back to Tech Today, guys. I'm your host, Aayush Ailawadi. Now, Elon Musk, Twitter, it's been in the news for so long. But when we're talking about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, what exactly are you guys using? That's what I want to find out. Do people still use Twitter? Well, let's find out, and I'll head here.
Well, I have no idea where Aayush is headed to in that elevator, but guys, nothing beats where I'm at. I'm here at the world's largest elevator, and quite honestly, I've never seen anything like it. Come, let's take a look. Massive elevator is found at the Geo World Convention Center in Mumbai, and as you guys can see, it's absolutely spectacular. It weighs about 16 tons, it moves up to 5 floors, and is surrounded by glass and mirrors on all sides, so the view outside is phenomenal. Cool. I'm going to put this up on my Insta or maybe my Twitter. Wait a minute, which social media apps are you guys using these days? Do you use Insta or Facebook, or do you even still use Twitter? I don't know. Let's find out. So I'm walking around the Geo World Convention Center just to really figure out and get a sense of which social media platforms people are using the most these days. Do you use Instagram or Facebook, and what about Twitter?
Well, I used to use Twitter a lot. It was very time consuming, but now I use Insta. But I have a bit of knowledge about Twitter, yeah.
I am on Instagram and Facebook, but Facebook I think is little outdated right now, and Twitter I don't use personally.
I prefer Instagram. So I have a lot much of things into Instagrams.
I use most Instagram, not Twitter. Yeah, Reels especially.
I'm sure you know about the Elon Musk takeover, the big hot news these days. Do you think it's going to make a difference to Twitter?
Yes, but not the positive kind.
No idea.
It might make a difference. We all know that Elon Musk is such a great personality, a person. So I think he can make a big difference.
I think Elon Musk is... The whole Twitter takeover thing was for his own sake, so that he can go around talking to people, saying that using I own Twitter as an icebreaker.
What about Twitter is not appealing for you?
Nothing as such, nothing personal, but I feel that people give their views and the views are contradictory in many forms, that's why.
But it was not for Twitter itself. So Twitter needs someone who can actually take care of it, not just own it.
That's really interesting. And you know, you've heard that Elon Musk has bought over Twitter, right? I know you're not a Twitter user, but do you think this will make a difference to Twitter?
Maybe it will make a huge difference because it has caused a huge difference in the share market at least.
Well, it's just 4 months old, but Tech Today has swept it all at the ENBA Award ceremony the last weekend, winning not 1, not 2, but 3 awards. Our tech editor Aayush has swept gold for the best tech coverage as well as best gadget coverage. And the Tesla Model 3 Special has also won in the auto coverage category. Take a look.
iPhone 13 coverage, WhatsApp controversy, India Today TV.
Well, clearly Team Tech Today has swept it all at the ENBA Awards. But wait a minute, speaking of the team, where has Aayush gone? Hello, Aayush. is the anchor of the show missing? Where is he?
Well, that's because we wanted to escape the heat in Mumbai and have moved to London, at least for this week. Tech Today is here in London. And if you tune into the show next week and the next few days, well, then you're going to catch all sorts of coverage on Tech Today and on BT TV. 5G, of course. We're going to have a very special 5G surprise. There's all sorts of machine learning, EVs, innovation, and a few more surprises. All of that and a lot more coming up on Tech Today. Until next week, adios.
So it is actually unreal to see the kind of attention every tweet from Elon Musk gets. But what do? The man has already bought Twitter and now his next tweet has everyone asking one question: does Coca-Cola actually have cocaine? Is he joking? Or did the company actually add cocaine to its product? Well, the short answer is yes and no. So way back in 1885, when pharmacist John Pemberton came up with the formula of Coca-Cola, cocaine was in it. At least that is what the US government's National Institute of Drug Abuse claimed. What was actually in the formula, if one may think? In his formula, Pemberton used extraction of the coca leaf from which cocaine is made. The formula also contained cola nut, which has caffeine. So the name Coca-Cola was thus inspired by these two main elements. The formula was made at a time when cocaine was legal in the US. It was even used as a common ingredient in medicines. Now I think Pemberton was a marketing genius because he actually marketed Coca-Cola in the initial days as a medicine. He called it a brain tonic and intellectual beverage that could cure headaches, upset stomach, and fatigue. Unlike today, since there were no regulations on medicines in the 19th century, many got away with adding addictive ingredients to their products and branding them as having health benefits. In around 1891, some Americans spoke out against the use of addictive ingredients in patent medicines. So following this, manufacturers in the US slowly reduced the content of such ingredients in their products, and Coca-Cola also complied. They began reducing the content of cocaine in the product and removed it completely by 1929.
When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism. When it's the world's biggest news story, there's only one gold standard of journalism.
You are watching India Today.
Door easy clean. No dog, no dhabba. Only beautiful walls.
are watching India Today.
Good afternoon and a warm welcome to India Today. I'm Paulami Saha and here